Welcome to episode 129 of the Forward from 50 podcast, where we interview people over 50 who are pursuing new direction for their lives. It's an opportunity for men and women to tell their stories, their way, and in their own words. I'm Greg Gerber, the founder of Forward from 50, and your host for today's show. In today's episode, you'll meet Bernadette Catalana, a New York attorney, devoted mother, and author of Daughter Lessons. What began as a personal writing project to share wisdom with her daughters blossomed into a heartfelt book that is touching the lives of parents, daughters, and mentors. Bernadette's story is especially meaningful for women navigating the transition from hands-on parenting to the empty nest. In our conversation, she offers timeless advice for moms raising daughters, as well as encouragement for women seeking to redefine their identity after turning 50. Here are my 3 key takeaways from our interview. First, your job as a parent doesn't end when your children grow up. Rather, it simply changes. Bernadette believes that once kids become adults, parents should shift from directing to supporting, offering guidance only when asked, and always with unconditional belief in their children's potential. Next, enjoy your children, even in the hard moments. She emphasizes that joy doesn't come from perfection. It comes from being fully present and appreciating each stage of the parenting journey, including the teenage years and beyond. Finally, after turning 50, it's your time to grow too. Bernadette encourages people to embrace this season as a chance to raise themselves by pursuing personal goals, building new relationships, and using their life experiences to mentor others. Whether you're a parent, grandparent, or someone mentoring the next generation, Bernadette's wisdom will remind you that it's never too late to build deeper connections, to heal old wounds, or to create something meaningful. To tell us more about what gives her life more meaning and purpose after turning 50, please welcome author Bernadette Catalana to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Bernadette. I really appreciate it. I understand that you have raised daughters, and I have raised daughters as well. And how was your experience?
Sounds like we're going to have a wonderful conversation. And thank you for having me on your show today. My experience raising daughters, absolutely the best experience of my life. And I will say that, I say that humbly, I say that proudly. I feel like I've done a lot of things in my life and nothing compares to raising my girls.
That's right.
Yeah, good.
I was a weird kind of guy because I only wanted daughters. I really did. I don't know why, from a young age. I said, I would like to be a father of daughters. So when daughter number 3 came, I was not disappointed at all. And other people are like, what? You didn't get a boy? Are you going to try again? And it's like, I am very content with my 3 girls.
Girl dad.
Yes, exactly.
I can.
That's right. And if you treat them respectfully their entire lives, the relationship with dads and daughters is just very close and one that can't be beat.
Girls love their dad, and girls need their dads. Girls need their moms, and they need their dads. One of my favorite books that I recommend to men with daughters is Strong Daughters, or I think it's Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, and it's by Meg Meeker. And that book is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't read it, you should read it. And I do. I recommend that book to any man who has daughters. It's a good one.
I've not heard of it. I'll be sure to check that out. I think that would be neat.
Yeah, it can be a tough book to read, especially if you haven't. So assuming your daughters are grown.
They
right?
are, yes.
Children. The book might be a little bit hard to read if your kids are small, but that's when you need it most.
Right.
And I will tell you, the father of my children, Mike, we were married for a long time. We're still very, very close. And he gave me that book to read, and he was reading it. And honestly, he had tears in his eyes, and he said, I want you to read this book. After him reading it, he said, I realized what you missed out on, because my dad was absent for most of my life. I shouldn't say most of my life. The second 10 years, 0 to 10, he was in our house. After that, he was not in our house. And I was very crushed by that because I loved my dad so much. and was really, really sad that he wasn't around. And it really touched me that the father of my children read this book and he said, well, I realize now what you missed out not having your dad around. And that meant a lot to me.
That's
And
neat.
yeah, and I read the book and I thought, oh yeah, gotta read this book. Just dads really need to lead their daughters into battle, so to speak.
I will be sure to check that out and recommend it to any other dodos, dad of daughters only, that I know. So,
Oh, that
so you decided to write a book based on your experience raising daughters and to share your life with them. What prompted you to do that?
I think just the realization that my girls were getting to a point where they were leaving the house, leaving my home and my protection, and going out into the world. And probably the more sobering realization related to that, as there's going to be a point in time where I'm not going to be here anymore for them. I thought about it being one of 7 children. You really don't have an opportunity to be that close to your mom. And especially since my mom was a single mom for a lot of that time, she had even less time for us. I thought, I'm going to pick up my pen and I am going to sit down every day for a month and I'm going to write down a lesson for my girls. And then that grew into a website, Daughter Lessons. And out of that, so my book is really just a collection of essays that I've written over time for my girls. And I will show you the cover of the book. And the cover of the book is wonderful. We were at a wedding a couple of years ago in Curacao, and we were taking a selfie. And while we were taking a selfie, the photographer of the wedding took a picture of us. And it was really fun. Great picture. So we had another picture planned for the cover of the book, but we switched to this one. And I tell people the only 2 people that need to read this book, as far as I'm concerned, are the 2 people on the cover. But I have had such an amazing experience writing this book and realizing that it has resonated with other moms of daughters, and not even necessarily moms of daughters, people who are daughters themselves, people who have maybe men who have daughters. It's a meditation on love, on life, on learning.
Absolutely. I remember those days when we were approaching the empty nest, and my ex-wife and I, we actually were excited. We started a countdown 5 years before the baby left, and we would count down and put in our annual Christmas newsletter kinds of things. We have 1,247 days till Becky graduates kind of thing. And we were looking forward to it. And when the empty nest came, I was completely unprepared for the feelings of loss that I would have, where I lost my purpose as a father. And they all went on their own separate ways. And it was devastating for me. You, on the other hand, leaned into it and started this important project to teach your daughters who you are and the important lessons that they might need to know in life.
Yeah, I probably didn't have as much. I did have the intention to help them know me, but you're right. It probably goes beyond that somewhat. And it is that, what do you need to know in life? I think the other modeling, we model for our children throughout their lives. And those are really the lessons that they internalize. Not what our mom and dad saying, what are mom and dad doing? And what are they doing? And I think it's important for them to see us as people. We don't always get to know our parents as people. And once we do, I think it makes all the difference in the world. And I'll tell you a little story. So I mentor a lot of younger lawyers. I love doing it. I call it's my professional mom job, right? So I have my kids and I have my work kids, and I cherish that experience as well. And one of my work kids, who she was working for me when she was maybe in high school, she was a clerk. She said she wanted to be a lawyer. And she was the daughter of people that I knew from from our town. I didn't know them very well, but I knew them a little bit. They were a nice family. And I think the mom might have been stay at home, and the dad was a doctor, very accomplished doctor. So I ran into her probably 7 years later. I was giving a talk to young lawyers, and she had just passed the bar. And said, "Do you remember me?" And oh, of course I do. And we just had such a lovely chat. And she said, "You're just so cool. I wish my mom looks like you." And I said, "You know what? Your mom probably is like me, but you just haven't had a chance to get to know her." And I said, "Your parents are still together. Mike and I aren't married anymore," which is a whole different layer going through a divorce after your kids grow up. And I said, "My girls have seen me down on my knees, crying on the floor, really compromised. And in some ways, as hard as that is, one, that humanized me to them. Two, we got to know each other in a different way. And they saw me coming back from that and making and building a life for myself." So I assured her that her mom was just as cool as me, but maybe she hadn't had the context to be able to get to know her in that way.
That's a very good explanation and a nice story. I appreciate that. I think that a lot of times girls seem to butt heads with their moms starting in adolescence for some reason. I don't know. It was the case in my family anyway, and in other families that I've seen as well. And they just have to separate from mom. And that's just a painful experience when they do it, and a lot of contention in the relationship at that time. You didn't have to experience that at all, or you did not experience that at all?
I didn't really. Of course, we all have difficult moments with our children. You're not a parent if you haven't had a difficult moment. And I certainly was the disciplinarian in the family. But the one thing that I think helped me bridge the gap is that I never lost faith in my children. Even in those bad moments, I still believed in them. I knew they were going to be okay. When you're one of 7 children raised by a single mother and everybody emerges in one piece and with educations, and we all have families of our own, and we've all raised good kids, I knew the odds were we were going to be okay. I never had any despair. And I think my girls knew that. I believed in them without question, even on the worst day. It's easy to love someone on their best day. Graduation day, the day of the recital, the day of the big game. Yeah, easy to love your kids on those days, but we are called to love our children on their worst days and show them that we believe in them without waiver. And I think those lessons are probably more important with our adult children because, right, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. As we continue to parent our kids into adulthood, what are we helping them? We're helping them with big things. We're helping them make life decisions about life partners, career choices, buying a house, things like that, confronting infertility issues. The things that our kids come to us with as adults are harder subjects. It might not be every day. They might not be coming to us as often. But when they do come to us, it's usually something big. And I think that's where parents of adult children can know that they're not out of a job. The job description has changed. You're not out of a job.
That's right. Once the nest empties out, your job just changes. The job description does. You never stop being a parent, even though I thought once the nest went empty, we'd have more time together and we would be able to do things. And we certainly could have, but the job as a parent never did end. It just shifted a little bit. They needed me as a parent or as a father, but in a different way. And so the relationship shifts from for me, the father-daughter relationship, as I'm the father, you're the daughter, to us becoming very good friends, where we were able to communicate on a whole different level about a whole different level of topics.
Yes, I agree. There's nothing like having a glass of wine with your children, your adult children, right?
Mhm.
And being able to talk about life is really nice. It's a great place to get to.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you have that you would give to moms who are raising daughters?
Probably the advice I give most often to any parents of any age, so whether you have a boy or a girl, just enjoy your children. Enjoy your children. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's not always easy. I think I call it the martyrdom of motherhood. We have this feeling that we have to be suffering. And you know what? It's not easy. Parenting is not easy, but you can enjoy every single day. You can enjoy your children. And I think we give them such a lovely gift. Think about it. When you love someone and you show them that just their presence makes you happy, what a gift we give to them. So I think the one thing that I did, and I was a young mom and probably hadn't really, and I say this, really hadn't finished raising myself when I started having my girls. But then that doesn't even matter because you're focusing on them. But I think that the one thing that I really stumbled upon from the very beginning is I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed them. And even the hard moments, even the teenage years, we had fun.
Yeah, my life changed completely the moment my first daughter was born. And I can't describe that experience that I had watching her emerge and then holding her in my hands for the first time and realizing that I was a father and her big brown eyes staring back at me like, you better buckle up, Buster, because this is going to be quite a ride. And I am realizing that I was now responsible for her life, but for guiding it. It was an awesome moment. And it's just one that like I said, changed my life forever.
And it does for all of us, right? There is something so singular about becoming a parent that you can understand why when people get to the end of their daily parenting and when their kids are leaving the nest, that it's frightening. But it's also such a great opportunity to explore ourselves, also to love other kids, love other people. I think about the mentoring opportunities that I've had since my children left home and how that has been such an area of my practice that I've enjoyed so much. I'm a lawyer. It's a difficult career. Mentoring is something that I think comes very naturally to lawyers. You're never going to know it all. I still don't know it all. I still have met people who mentor me. I still have people that I go to. And I just last week, I had a call with a lawyer who has much more experience than I do. And I was so happy to get her sage advice. So I am lucky enough to be in a career that I have people who want to know what I think and want to learn from me. I have more time for that. And we also have time to raise ourselves up and do the things that maybe we didn't get to do on the other end. But now that our daily parenting is over, we can get back to the business of raising ourselves.
Absolutely. When you're raising kids, you don't really realize that moment is going to end someday. We always celebrate the first steps, the first day of school kind of thing, but we don't really know when the end is going to come. The last time that they come to us to read them a story kind of thing, it just passes silently into the night. So when you said before that we have to enjoy those moments, that means enjoy the moment at the present, correct?
Oh, yeah. We have to live in the now. We only have what's going on right now. Yes, things that happened in the past, those are sweet memories, and we want to hold on to those. But really, we just have to live in what is happening at this moment. And that's part of the enjoyment. That's
Mhm.
part how we can enjoy our children is by focusing on what's happening right now. And where are they? I think too, there is a tendency for people to make their children their happiness projects.
Yes.
Or achievement projects. Oh, my daughter is going to a Division I school and she's playing this sport and she's doing this, and that stresses me out for them. I think your kid is not you. Your kid might have completely different aspirations. And I will say, I think just maybe being one of 7 children and having that instinct of what they're going to be okay. Also, not having a lot of guidance from my parents because of the circumstances. I never felt like I had to interfere with my children's choices, and I trusted them. If they said they wanted something, then I wanted it for them and was completely committed to it. But I have to say, Mike and I were both very good at not foisting upon our children what we thought would be best for them.
Yes, that is a tragedy. I've seen that over and over again, where the parents put such heavy expectations, like you are going to graduate and you're going to work in the family business kind of thing, or you're going to go to school and you're going to be a doctor or an accountant or whatever the case might be. And They push that, and the child is not at all equipped in that, or equipped, talented, interested in that kind of career field. And it's a tragedy all around. Now this child is stuck in a rut where they can't get out of, and there's no joy in what they're doing.
No, that's true. That's true. We have to remember that we give our children life, that we give them life, but their lives are not our lives. They have their own life. That's something that's better. It's good to realize that. The sooner we realize that, maybe that would make it easier to let go when you get to the point of releasing your children out into the world, right? That have a whole life out there for them to live. And it's exciting. I'm excited for my kids. I'm excited to see what they do and who they are. And it's a relief to know I feel like I can give myself an honorable discharge. I did a good job.
That's a great way to put that. And I like that very much. I also like that you are mentoring younger women, because that is something that all of us over 50 can do. And even if we've never had children, we can mentor younger moms, maybe, who are still struggling with their own identity and what they can do. And you can still give them hints and advice to make them better people.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I have connected with the younger folks and where I've worked in the different offices I've worked is I don't look at myself as, okay, I'm up here, I've done all of this, and you're down there. I look at it as a mutual relationship. I learn a lot from the younger lawyers. They're technologically very savvy. And I also don't put myself in this box of, okay, I'm this age and you're that age. We're just people. And I read once that the most well-rounded people had friends of different ages. And I had found that was true. I had people in my life that I admired that they had friends that were older and more experienced, and they had friends that were younger. But in the end, they treated them all as friends. And I think we can do that in mentoring relationships as well. I think of people as colleagues. Yeah, there are going to be times when I full rank and say, hey, do not do that. That's not a good move. But you do it kindly, and then you move on and move forward from it. Because we've all made mistakes, right?
That's absolutely right. What are some of the ways that the role evolves in parenting when children become adults?
Oh, I will say it's hard there is that moment where you realize I'm not calling the shots anymore. I'm not, and we have to accept that graciously. Have to. I also think there are those moments where we see our adult children doing something that we might believe is a mistake. And we still have to cede control to them, their decision. And my daughter, Carly, and I had this talk, and we come to a absolute 100% agreement on it, that it's hard to watch somebody make what we think is a mistake, but it's their mistake to make. And it's all part of growing and living. And I look back on my life and I think of some of the things that I did that I probably would have done differently in hindsight, that I might consider a mistake. And you know what? Those were the best growth opportunities that I had. And those were the things that helped me become who I am. So who are we to judge? Okay, someone might be making a mistake. Your child might be making a mistake, but it's their mistake to make. And it's not your place anymore to judge it. It's your place to support. So I think of myself as I am the supporter. I'm the person who will give you, I'm honest. I will give honest advice. But in the end, I let my children know that I trust them and I trust their judgment.
My mother-in-law was that kind of person. When she thought that we were going down the wrong path or doing something really stupid, she would come to us and say, I'm only going to say this once. And she would express her opinion or her concern or whatever. And then she never brought it up again. And too many moms sometimes ride over their kids and continue to push their direction and tell them what they need to do and insist that it be done this way only, kind of thing. And it just creates a lot of problems that way. So I really admired my mother-in-law for her ability to gently guide us in the direction that she thought we should go.
I love my mother-in-law. I still call her my mother-in-law, even though I'm not married to her son anymore. And when we talk, we laugh, and she's still giving great advice at 89, heading toward 90. And somebody who is young, she always dressed young and knew the styles and she's ageless. And I feel like she's been someone who's been a role model for me, because I think that also helps younger people relate to us when you don't put yourself in this box of, oh, I'm old. I hear people say that. They say they're old, and like, why would you ever say that about yourself? No, because there's always someone older. My mother-in-law is looking at me thinking, oh, she's young. She has plenty of time in her life left. And you know what? By that measurement, she's absolutely right. So, perspective.
I agree. That is absolutely correct. You had mentioned that you were raised by a single mom as well. Do you have any special advice for single moms? Those folks are in such a difficult position because they have to work and be the provider and the disciplinarian, and they might not be the nurturer that they want to be all the time because they have that unique role. What kind of advice would you have for them?
That is such a good question, because you're right. It is very difficult to be that single parent at home, which is often a single mother. And not only do I look to my own mother, I have a friend, Susan, whose husband died tragically when her son was 3 years old. And I know she had many nights of fear. Am I doing this right? Am I raising this child right? I think you can do the best you can. You are doing the best you can. Try to get support, but trust your gut. No one is going to have the answers. No one is going to have as much insight on how to raise your children as you are. So just trust that you know what to do and do it, and you will get there. It seems like forever. What do they say? The days are long, but the years fly by. And that certainly is really true, isn't it? You do get to the end, and you do get to a point where your daily parenting is done. My mom really enjoyed her years after we were all out of the house, and loved having grandchildren. And say, oh, if I knew this was going to be so great, I would have done it first. That were true.
Right, exactly. It's funny to watch my mother around the grandchildren. It's, wait a minute, we weren't allowed to do this. She came and spoiled them silly. And it was wonderful because the kids need that kind of thing as well. They need the parents to provide the direction and the support, but they also need the grandparents to come in and just give a special kind of love that they can't get anywhere else.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody loves us like our grandparents. My grandmother, both of them were wonderful ladies. My dad's mother was probably my most favorite person on the earth until my children were born. I loved her. I loved her laugh. I can still hear it ringing in my ears. And she was just pure love. And I think that's what we are called to be for our grandchildren. It's just to be that pure love and have that energy for them. And that's also a very satisfying part of being out of the daily business of parenting, right? That we have those opportunities to love our children's children.
This applies to to moms who are married and single moms as well. How do you find the appropriate work-life balance so that you can be there for your kids and to enjoy being with them?
Wow, that's almost a trick question. But I'm going to flip this around and I don't believe in work-life balance. I call it work-life integration because you know what? I'm never just at work or just at home, especially now, especially post-COVID. We know that we can work in our home and we can raise children, do some parenting on the fly. And I think that we don't just shut one off. I remember as a young mom and I went to law school after I had my girls. So they were maybe in kindergarten and first grade when I was getting back into the workforce after I graduated from law school. And I would sit at my desk and I would cry sometimes because I missed them so much. Felt so overwhelmed being at the office. So when you're at the office, you want to be home. But then I would be home and I would think of all the things that I had to do at the office. And then there was this thing called the internet. And suddenly I'm able to work on a brief when my kids are having a snow day. So we could all be at home together. They could be playing. I could be making them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I could still do work. That was an amazing thing. And then we started having these things called iPhones. And wow, we could get our email on the iPhone. And I could go on vacation and still take care of some work things. So I feel like we're living in such a wonderful time now. Our work life and our home life can be integrated with each other. And I think it has been important for my girls to see me work. Even now, I will be spending time with my daughter and her family out on Long Island, and she and her husband and I are all working. And then it comes to noon on Friday, and I might still have some calls, and they might take a lunch break, and then we all go back to work, or we've learned how to do it. And it enhances our time together. It's always easy to say, oh, the good old days. Good old days are now. We have a lot of opportunities, and we have more opportunities to be side by side with the people we love. If that means I have to answer an email, I'm on vacation. Guess what? I'm going to answer the email. It's not that big of a deal. We can do that. And I think just learning how to do it smoothly. We don't want to be slave to our phone. We don't want to be zombie parents where we're constantly looking down. Nothing makes me more sad than that. But we can do it with some discipline. And I think it's a great thing.
That's great. One of the problems that I think moms face more than dads do, although I've went through it myself, is the guilt of the mistakes that we made when the kids were growing up. How can moms let go of that kind of guilt?
Wow. I have been thinking about this lately because I will say I'm not somebody who tends to regret I feel like I've done my best. Every decision I've made, I'm a very contemplative person. But lately, I just got back from a vacation with my daughter, Courtney, and her husband and my significant other. And you know what? One thing I thought I might regret one thing that I did not do for my girls. I did not stress the importance of learning another language. So there you go. That is my regret. I have said that to both of them recently because both of their husbands can speak multiple languages besides English. And I'm amazed. And I listen to them talk and I think, wow, I should have done that. I guess I didn't realize that in America, the way we teach languages is not great. Phil, Carly's husband, both of his parents were foreign born. So he is first generation American on both sides. So he speaks Finnish, his mother's Finnish, and he speaks French. His father is not French, but his father grew up before he came to the US in Egypt, where they spoke French.
What?
Yeah, so he was French speaking. So Phil speaks French and Finnish. And Drake, who is Courtney's husband, moved to Europe when he was 16 years old to be a ballet dancer. So he speaks fluent German, some Russian, and he speaks Spanish. Again, they've been out in the world, and now I think, but it's not too late. My girls, they can do that. So
Absolutely.
There you go. That's my one regret. If you have regrets, you know what? There's no time like the present, and there's nothing like forgiveness. And I think the real healing that we have to do, there's generational healing. We have to forgive our mothers for not being the perfect mother. No one is. We have to forgive ourselves for not being perfect mothers, all doing our best. And regret is really a wasted emotion.
Exactly.
Move forward. Live for today, live for tomorrow. As long as your children are alive, there is opportunity for healing. If you can just get out of that. I think there's a lot of blame and shame. I call them mother wounds. I have some friends in my life that have mother wounds where they really did not have a strong relationship with their mother, or it was strong in the negative way. And you can see where they struggle with that mother wound. And it's blaming their mother for everything that has gone wrong in their lives. And then it's shame. Why didn't my mother love me perfectly? Why wasn't my mother better? Oh, it must be because of something's wrong with me. So the blame and the shame. And I think the sooner we get out of that blame and shame and move forward, one of the things that I have counseled these friends to do is try to examine what was your mother's relationship with her mother. It might not have been all of that great. So before we start pointing fingers at our parents, thinking, oh gosh, our parents were crappy parents, maybe take a look at their parents.
Right.
Maybe their parents weren't all that great. And maybe your parents, wow, maybe they were a huge improvement over their parents. So I think in order to have what, many people are referring to as generational healing, we have to look back and think, how did my mom come up? How was she raised? What was the family dynamic there? And by asking those questions and delving in, we can find answers and we can exonerate. Another exercise that I have done and I have advised people to do is, and this comes really easy to me because I'm a lawyer, but anyone can do it. If I am feeling really bad about myself and how I handled a situation, I will sit down and I will write an essay exonerating myself, thinking of, okay, these are the reasons behind why I made this decision, and really delving into it, trying to And not saying I won't take the responsibility and I won't take the blame, but when it gets to a point of I'm taking too much responsibility and I'm taking too much blame, how can I exonerate myself? How can I justify? How can I look at myself and say, you know what? You did the best you could with what you knew. And now that you know better, you'll do better. And I think those are two really simple things that people can do today to help move them forward so that they can not look at their parenting with regret, shame, or blame, but just for the joyful, series of joyful moments that it.
That's a great piece of advice. Thank you very much for that. I'm very interested in why you became a lawyer.
I became a lawyer because I had Carly. So I graduated from undergrad, got married 6 months later. I had Carly a year later. And then I had Courtney. I was pregnant with Courtney and I was working at what is now called JP Morgan Chase. It was called Chase Manhattan Bank at the time. And I hated the fact that I had to leave Carly with a care provider and was thinking, oh, now I'm going to have to leave my two little ones with a care provider. And I thought, but I've got to do more with my life if I'm going to be raising these girls. How am I going to get them? We've got to pay for school. We've got to pay for college. At that point, we had a very small house and needed another house. So I knew, okay, I'm not going to go out and get this big job right now while I'm 6 months pregnant with my second baby. But how can I lay a plan for the future that will allow me to, one, be home more now, but two, be able to support them the way I knew I needed to. And I thought, oh, go back. I always loved school. I won't say I always loved school. I always loved college. College was great for me. I discovered that it's cool to be smart in college. My college career I loved it. I really did love school and was a really strong student. And I always loved to write. And I didn't even know any lawyers. Literally did not know a single lawyer. But I thought, I think lawyers need to be good writers. And I'm a good writer. Okay. So that was literally my logic. I signed up for the LSAT. I did not take any course or do anything. I just ordered, you could get free sample tests from the LSAT organization. And I stayed home the day before the test. I took 5 practice tests and I thought, okay, I got this. I went, I was huge. I had this huge 6-month pregnant belly and could barely fit. It was like those old fashioned desks, like with the arm. And I was like barely fit in the desk. And I took the exam and I came home and I was crying. And I told my husband, I'm going to cancel my scores. I did terrible. I don't know why. I thought I could do this, and all the emotions and the hormones just got the better of me. But then a few days later, I thought, you know what? Let's just ride it out. If I'm not meant to go to law school, then, and I did bad, then great, then I'll know. But if I did well, then I'll know that too. So I did. And I remember getting the scores probably, I would say maybe a month or 2 later. I was home alone with my daughter, with Carly. Mike was working. And I opened the envelope and I did better than I ever could have dreamed of doing. And I remember like falling on my knees and thanking God I did not cancel those scores. And that was it.
That's incredible. So you did a couple of practice tests the night before and that was it. And you did good. I guess you are naturally built to be a lawyer.
I went to Catholic school my whole life, and the nuns really taught us how to be good test takers. I will say that Catholic school, my mother we went to Catholic school the whole way through, and Catholic schools really teach you how to be test takers. So I'm going to credit all the nuns that I had throughout my life. And it really was meant to be. And that, that was one of those situations where I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I missed being with my kids. But going to law school was great because when you're in school, you're not in school 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. But I put my kids to bed at night. They were such good angels. They were angels. They would go to sleep. They would sleep for 12 hours. And my husband worked at night. So I had long hours every night to study. And that's how I did it. And I had school breaks. I had the whole summer off. So I could be with them and spend time with them. And by the time I was done, Carly was in kindergarten full time. And Courtney was in her last year of preschool.
Oh, that's neat.
It worked. Things do work out.
What type of law did you specialize in?
I am a defense attorney. I defend companies in toxic exposure cases.
Okay.
That's what I do. It again unfolded and it's worked. It's worked out well.
My sister just retired as a public defender up in Wisconsin. And
Wow. So you've got it in the blood too.
There's a lawyer in the family, that's for sure. So what kinds of things do you do for fun that gives you a diversion from all of this?
We live in New York. There's so much to do. We go to a lot of shows and I spend all the time with my girls. I live walking distance from both of them. So I see them and try to spend as much time with them as possible. We travel a lot just with my work and just in general, love to travel. We do that. I love yoga, love to cook. I definitely am a Susie homemaker of just keeping house and anything related to keeping things neat, clean. I even love to do the wash. Love all of it. I enjoy it. That just is, maybe that's my secret, is I just try to find things to enjoy about it.
That's very good. If you could turn the clock back, is there anything you would do differently? You had mentioned that you'd put the girls through foreign language training. Is there anything else that you would do?
Yeah. You know what? That literally is the one thing that I think I would do differently is foreign language training for sure. But I try not to go in the let's time portal. I try not to do that because I feel like that only can lead to like frustration and sadness. So what I try to do is look forward and say, what can I do now so that I won't have a regret in the future? So I'm trying to have that mindset and try to look forward because it's the only way. Have eyes in the front of our head for that reason. So we're not looking back.
That's right. That looking back can be an anchor that really prevents people from going forward. So I like your perspective of making that decision. What can I do today that I won't regret tomorrow? Yeah, super. Do you have any advice for people over 50 who may be struggling with what to do to give their life more meaning and passion?
Yeah, don't put yourself in a box. We live in a very ageist world. And 50 is nothing. This is life begins. Life begins. When you think of it, you're probably a lot better off financially than you were when you were 20. If your kids are heading toward the door and you are going to be an empty nester or you already are an empty nester, you have a lot more freedom to rewrite your story. You're a lot younger than you think. I think I hear people, and I mentioned this before, I hear people saying, I'm old. Why would you say that? Because the things we say about ourselves become the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So if we say, how about I'm young, I feel great. I think the positive attitude, developing that positive attitude is really important. And one of the ways we can do that and support that every day is by moving. So if you don't have a regular exercise program, I highly recommend you find one because I know that there are times I have a grueling schedule. Practice of law is not for the faint of heart, and it is strenuous. Mentally, it can be strenuous physically, certainly, like when we have trials or deadlines and we're working all hours of the night. But I try to really stick to some kind of routine. And I know there are times when I get down and I get out of sorts. And the first thing I try to do is get out there, take a walk, get on the treadmill, do a yoga class, get my body moving. And it's amazing how it can really turn you around. So you can't put yourself in a box. Don't do what everyone else does. There are a lot of really ageist people out there, and you have to be careful because if they get in your head, sooner or later, you're going to be telling yourself that what they're saying is true. You're going to be buying what they're selling. Don't do that. You get to write your own story and you can say whatever you want about yourself and you can make it true.
I absolutely love that advice about starting to move, because there are too many people who are have these grand plans of things they're going to do in retirement, and then they turn 65 and they retire, but their health does not enable them to move forward and do the things that they had always dreamed of doing. So that is outstanding advice.
Yeah, you're so true. And one of the things we did when we were on vacation is we did the Normandy. We did the Normandy beaches, and we were climbing up rocks, going in the German pillboxes. And our tour guide looked at the four of us, obviously four very fit people, and said, I don't usually take people up this way, but you guys look like you can do it. We were climbing over these rocks. And then a little bit of distance away from us, I saw a bunch of, I would say probably older folks, maybe in their late 60s or 70s. And I looked at my partner and I said, that's not going to be us. We got to keep moving.
That's right.
It gives you that incentive to keep yourself going forward.
How can people connect with you if they would like to learn more about your book or buy your book or just ask you a question?
Sure. They can certainly, my book is available on Amazon. It's called Daughter Lessons. And I don't know if I know the camera can see
the picture. Yep.
but I might not see the words as well, but it's available on Amazon. It's called Daughter Lessons. And I have a website. And if people want to email me, they can email me at Bernadette@daughterlessons.com.
That's great. How old are your daughters today?
My daughters are married ladies in their early 30s, and Carly, two little girls. Blake is 3 and Gemma is 2.
Oh.
So it's like reliving my life with these 2 little girls a year apart. And nothing makes me happier than that.
That is so cool. Thank you very much for joining me today, Bernadette. I really appreciate it. You've got a lot of wisdom to share with other people about how to have a great mother-daughter relationship. And so thank you for taking the time to tell us about it.
Oh, thank you, Greg. I loved our conversation.
As Bernadette Catalana shared in our conversation, life after 50 is a unique opportunity to rediscover who we are and how we want to show up in the world. With her 2 now grown daughters, she has found fulfillment in mentoring young attorneys and supporting the people around her through encouragement, wisdom, and presence. What gives Bernadette's life meaning and purpose today is her ability to help others grow, whether it's through mentoring younger professionals, spending time with her own grandchildren, or sharing the lessons she learned through parenting. She continues to invest her time and energy in the next generation. She has also embraced the physical, emotional, and spiritual benefits of staying active. From traveling and hiking to practicing yoga and enjoying family time, Bernadette makes it a priority to care for herself so she can continue living with vitality and purpose. Rather than dwelling on regrets from the past, Bernadette encourages others to give themselves grace and to focus on what they can do today. She recommends writing exercises to help release shame and guilt, and she reminds us that generational healing often begins by understanding the struggles of the parents who came before us. Her advice to anyone over 50 who may feel stuck or uncertain is to avoid putting themselves in a box. Age should never define what is possible. By choosing to stay curious, keep learning, and surrounding ourselves with people of all ages, we remain open to growth, connection, and new adventures. People can connect with Bernadette through her website at www.daughterlessons.com. Her journey is a beautiful reminder that our influence does not end when our children grow up. In many ways, that is when our relationships deepen and our legacy begins to take shape. Bernadette's book, Daughter Lessons, is available on Amazon and in other bookstores. That's all for this week's show. If you'd like to start living a more meaningful life, I encourage you to download our free guide to finding purpose, which is available at www.forwardfrom50.com. I'll have another inspirational interview on the next episode of the Forward from 50 podcast. Thanks for listening, and if you like this show, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes.